Good morning. My name is Christopher Barron. I'm host of Barron's America More in Common. I'm the creator of two organizations that I'm launching this autumn and winter that I want to share with you. I'm very excited about. A bit of a backstory about me. I'm an author, I'm a researcher, and last autumn I finished a multi-year 20,000 mile circumnavigation in the United States that took me about a decade plus to complete. Short story, in the depths of the Great Recession, I woke up one morning and realized as a former journalist, I just simply didn't recognize my own country. I thought the best way for me to understand that was to go out on the road and talk to Americans. I began that trip never imagining that it would take me so long to complete. I completed it during last year's election cycle. In the intervening years, I embedded in cities across America and spoke with well over 1,000 Americans. It is the defining work of my life. I got back and it just about brought tears to my eyes. I had a front row seat to the formation of the country we live in, the division, and I say that we live in an amazing country of mostly warm and kind people. It's complex, it's messy, it's this amazing, beautiful place. At the same time, the division was heartbreaking. At times, I saw poverty and lack of resources equivalent to a third world country. And I witnessed, this great growth of great wealth in this very thin crust of Americans due to technology and private equity and venture capital that really left a lot of Americans behind. We really lost our middle class. And so, I've been very fortunate to live in really beautiful areas around very successful people oftentimes, and yet I say that my trip gave me great compassion for just the plight of people and the lives of people who in many cases you were left behind and really simply had misfortune. They did nothing wrong. So the two initiatives are the following. One, I'm a huge believer. As I was traveling, I would throw these coffee groups and dinner parties and so forth, and eventually that became the genesis of the podcast. And the reason was the people went to what they had in common. They would ask, where'd you go to school? How did you guys meet? How did you end up living here? What's your profession? What are your hobbies? They were kind of love fest. They were really one of the best things I've ever done. That became the more in common theme. Look, we've got more in common. But in many cases, technology, politics were driving us apart, and oftentimes, frankly, for profit. So the More in Common Dinner Club is saying, look, if we're not talking to one another, that's a dangerous thing. This is a forum nationally where we let local chapters say, look, throw a dinner party, have a coffee group under the More in Common theme, get together, bridging the divide, one meal at a time. And it's a way to have community, to have warm social touch points, but also for rigorous and polite discussion. I think discussion's a great thing. I think disagreeing is perfectly fine. I'm really not for toxicity. I'm for a certain level of tolerance. And I believe that us talking together in person is going to ramp down the temperature. And I believe there's a larger center than we've been led to believe. I think people are hungry for it. Secondly, More in Common Ventures. Very briefly, as I sort of alluded to and said, the amount of suffering and tragedy I witnessed was heartbreaking and more than I could take, frankly. There's just no need for this in our country. This is a moral choice, it's a values choice, and it's deeply embedded in our ethos and our values. And I can say that if you do as I do, get in your car, travel America, and talk to people unlike you, you're going to see people that are good people who just need a hand up. Our social safety nets, going to be blunt, in hundreds and hundreds of interviews around the country, they're really not credible. People believe they're far more than they are. And the safety nets, the ladder's been pulled up on the American dream for far too many people. More in Common Ventures is designed to do a very simple thing. It's a value fund for humans, is really what it is. I believe that people can succeed. I believe people have drive. I believe people want to have a decent life and they're willing to work for it if they have the chance and the opportunity. So housing, stability is the core of all this. I met so many people who are struggling with housing. They're losing their housing, they're losing their rental, or healthcare. So many people I met are not going to the doctor. They're not going to ERs because they're terrified of the ramifications financially. The first two categories of grant recipients, low friction grants, are this. If somebody has lost their housing or they're in danger of losing their housing, it's an episodic event, give them a low friction grant. Once they lose their housing, their lives are at risk for all kinds of bad outcomes. Secondly, for someone who's getting back into housing, first, last, and deposit is a big deal for many Americans. Give them a low friction grant. If someone's gone through tragedy, they've had a health event, a relational event, a messy divorce, you name it, all the things that happen in life, again, getting back to stability and back on your feet is so important, a low friction grant. If someone is starting and wants to start a small, basic, low friction business but has credit issues, so doesn't have savings, again, a low friction grant. In my opinion, we have to rebuild a larger middle class, and More in Common Ventures is meant to stabilize communities. These are very basic things that were just a given when I grew up. They were not a question. None of this was needed when I was growing up. Lastly, and this is aimed at the veteran population, and this might be a bit contentious, but across America, the amount of trauma I saw, the amount of depression, mental health issues, in some cases driven by these social issues, was tragic. I was at a conference here in Colorado a couple months ago. For people with treatment-resistant depression or trauma, especially in our veteran population, ketamine and other psychedelics are amazingly effective. We need to have a larger dialogue about that. Of course, they're expensive. They're not covered by insurance. I am a believer in human thriving and human connection. I'm going to stop this before I run on tape. Contact info is below. Reach out. I'd love to talk to you about a chapter in your city. And More in Common. We have a bright future, but we need to rebuild. We have far more in common. We need to de-escalate the rhetoric. We need more people modeling this, experiencing it, and practicing. Thanks so much, Christopher Barron. It's a beautiful day in Colorado. Have a great day too. Bye.